Assalamu alaikum. Peace, everyone. It's Fatimah, Coach Fatimah, for the next Quintessential Queens live cast. So I'm just going to do some little housekeeping on my end. Inshallah, make sure everything is everything. I believe we are good. First and foremost, let's see. Might be a little issue. I'm going to see on my end what's going on. I'm not too sure. Okay. Looks like it's good. If you can hear me, give me a big old thumbs up. That'd be great. Let's see. And if you have any questions, make sure you leave question marks in front of the question so it's easily identifiable. Now, with that being said, I'm going to get right into this topic for today. So every week I go live on Thursday for Quintessential Queens, and I'm really addressing the wives of men that practice polygyny. It's important because the more we have these conversations, the better off I believe we'll be, because we'll feel more comfortable in having these conversations, supporting one another and sharing our stories. Everybody has a voice. Polygyny is happening to everyone. I always say this, I always mean this, including our children. They're watching what we do, how we do it, how we don't do it. And that's important. And one of the things that many wives, and this could be, I don't care if you're initial or subsequent wives, you could feel like your husband's either your friend or your foe. And oftentimes when husbands do enter into polygyny, their wives might feel as though he's the enemy now. And why? Why does that happen? It happens because many times there's a breakdown in communication. There's a breakdown in communication. We might have assumptions or insecurities that are driving us to feel a specific way. And there's someone else in his life, and we're not used to that. We're just simply not used to it. So it's getting used to the new normal and refamiliarizing ourselves with the husband that we already know. Now, he might not be who you created in your head as far as everything has to be perfect. This is how I wanted things to be. And he might have other plans. Maybe these plans are not so diabolical like one might think they are. Maybe there's some things that maybe went through his mind. It's a bunch of maybes, because we don't have the privilege of entering into someone else's consciousness, their mind, or their intentions. We're left with sometimes our assumptions if we're people that assume. Assuming doesn't serve anybody. It definitely didn't serve me, especially in just in marriage in general, monogamy, or in polygyny. The best practice for best results, as we always talk about that here, we always train about best practices for best results, is having the hard conversations. Of course, those conversations don't mean we have to be hostile with each other. And I'll keep repeating that because it always needs to be heard and replayed, because that's important. Many times if we meet our husbands with hostility, then they'll shut down just as we do. I'll shut down. And I totally understand that if someone meets me with a conversation that is hostile, the way I will shut it down, and they'll get shut out, and they'll have to shut up, and I'll keep it moving. So I totally understand when husbands feel as though, and even wives on their end feel as though they're being met with some hostility. It's difficult to be vulnerable and to power through a conversation and feel comfortable with your spouse when you're meeting them with a hostile environment. One question I had to ask myself, and I challenge anyone that is married and a wife to ask themselves the same question, is, do I view my husband as my husband? Yes. And as a friend of mine. I ask you this because I had to ask myself this. Someone asked me a question, and it was pretty deep. I won't share that it's a private question. It was meant to be private, and it was asked of me in confidence, and I'll keep it there. So they asked me something that was personal, not gross, but just personal. And they said, well, why do you feel that way about Coach Nazir after all this stuff he put you through? I got to be putting me through something. And I said, I don't just view him as my husband. I view him as a friend of mine. So sometimes the wife title that I have, that I hold, that I've not given up in any way, shape, or form, nor has anyone asked me to. It's important because I said sometimes I have to show up as a friend of his, depending on the context of the conversation. What does that mean? If I'm not the father of 10, then for me to understand that world and meet him, these are the early years. These are early years, not super early because the 10 children weren't always here. They weren't born yet. However, I digress. I said, now, if I was the father of 10 and I had 2 wives and this was the situation for me, then I knew that I needed to meet him without bias as a wife, because I could very well sit there and you know, that doesn't gel with what I think as your wife should be going on, because I might feel a way about my child or whatever the case may be. And I said, well, if I'm meeting him in a conversation without bias, then I'm being a good friend to him. Now, of course, wife, it's under the umbrella of wife, but in conversations, to be able to pull oneself back and say, okay, I need to show up more as a friend right now, like a really good friend that he could come to and talk to without being met with a lot of judgment. Do all wives meet with judgment? No. Do all husbands sit around and not say things or withhold, whatever the case may be? No. That would be a generalization. But oftentimes, this can be the case. So to avoid it is not focusing on he hurt me, hurt me, hurt me. Mine, and I had to really learn this very recently from having different conversations and things of that nature with Coach Nazir, and talking about the difference between disappointment and hurt. It's a huge difference. And I won't go into some big old training. Make sure that you all are visiting us within our OPR private community. This is a safe space for like-minded people, yes, people that practice polygyny, want to know more about polygyny, want to get educated on polygyny, or just have a conversation without this verbal violence from other people that are really sitting in their judgment and their assumptions about what other grown people decided they were going to consensually do. Now, you can do that at oprcommunity.com. And also make sure you guys are picking up your polygamy roadmap at polygamyroadmap.com for details. Now, back to what I was saying. Being met with different disappointments is not easy, you know, and some of the things that women or wives are met with could potentially be those such as not knowing their husband is married, or getting used to his kids that are not yours through biology, and different things like that, and not knowing how to approach those conversations, having people from the outside tell you stuff about your husband or ask you questions about your husband. I had a neighbor of mine ask me, well, why would he do this now? And I looked at her, I said, well, when would you like him to do it? Because I can't figure that out for him, but I know full well, I don't think that he should be doing it in his older age or his mature age. Now, he's not of mature age. He's still relatively young. I still feel young. Sometimes I don't, but I wanted her to answer that for me. But when's a good time? When do you think is a good time? What say you, as you have access to things that I don't? What is a good time? And she could not answer me. Right, because in your assumption, in your judgment, you're thinking, well, he could have waited 10 more years. Well, what if he didn't have that to wait? And it's not for me or you to say in the middle of our yard in the summer, and I need to go in the house and you need to mind your business. That's really what it is. But she just had to say it because she could see cars going and children going in and out, wives moving about. She could see those things, although we never lived together, Coach Nyla and I. But she's not stupid. The woman had eyes, and she just had to ask me. But she was seeing him go in and out of this house, but we never asked him. So see, so it's really interesting and appropriate to show up as friend. You know, I could have been bitter and bold with it and went off into this big old session with her, and you know, I don't get it either, and all this stuff like that. It's not appropriate. It's not our business. You're my neighbor. We're going to stay neighbors, and you're going to stay out of my lane and everybody else's. You know, he did it because he's grown. That's really what she needed to hear, although she might not have thought she needed to hear that, but she absolutely was going to hear it from me. Okay. Another thing is having unrealistic expectations that our husbands are going to be perfect. They're not. Polygyny is not easy for anyone, as everybody is in it. And if they have the right intentions, they're invested in it. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be friends with your co-wife or be chummy or be best friends or be hanging out and all those things. Wives don't have to do that. That's fine. They don't have to. That's fine. And we don't tell them you must, and we just say for best practices, for best results. You don't know when something's going to happen to your husband, or he might become ill, or your children might need to see each other as he's out of town or whatever. Him facilitating every little thing, I have found, is not the best practice. It is very difficult for one man to organize a few children and wives and a bunch of children and wives, and he loves them, and they do not gel together just yet. Because men don't typically go, that's my family over there, and that's my family with this wife. If he has children with more than one wife, then he looks at them as, okay, this is my family. Period. Now, there might be some that think they're otherwise. Of course, there's always that. That's fine. That if they want to do that, that's okay. I'm just saying it might not be the best thing. I don't make a difference between, somebody said to me, I don't know, this past summer, they were like, well, his other family, and then he's got you guys. I'm so happy for you and his other family and y'all. And I said, okay, I want to correct you, but thank you so much for that compliment, because she didn't have to give me anything. And I said, but I just want to correct you so that you know where I stand with this. We're one big family. Oh, okay. And she went on about her day and I went on about mine. She's like, oh, I'm glad you let me know, because everybody's not that way. I know, you're right, but we are. Well, we were always this close? No, we weren't. So, all right. The next thing that I had to understand as a friend was that my life in polygyny was different than his life in polygyny. I'm a wife in polygyny. I'm not a husband in polygyny. I don't have those responsibilities. And so what could I do to kind of support things without, dragging myself? Although no one asked me to get dragged, it's just something that kind of happens. You can feel dragged from a neighbor. You can feel dragged from people asking you, are you divorced? You can decide not to feel dragged in any way, shape, or form. I know I've had to get many, many, many people together over the years, and some might have had ill intentions, some might not have had an ulterior motive, some might just have not known any better, and that's fine. I get that. That's totally understandable. I've gotten some of everything, and I've answered some of everything. So how do we know? How did I know? How do we know if our husbands are a friend or a foe? One thing I did was I told myself, I said, okay, is he a friend of yours? Yeah. Well, how do you treat your friends in your personal life? I treat them very well. Very loyal to them. I hear them out. Do we agree on everything? No. Do we kind of just hammer things out gently? Yes. Do I give them a side to speak for themselves? Yes. Do they do that for me? Absolutely. Do we give each other space to grow? Yes, we do. We don't have ownership over each other. No, we don't. It's a different thing. So if I think about the best relationship I have with one of my closest, dearest friends, and I have a really awesome core group of women that love me so much and I love them back, I haven't had any arguments with them because we're very careful about how we treat each other. And one would say, well, no, they're not your husband. Well, no, they're not. They're my friend. But so is my husband. So is my co-wife. They're friends of mine. And that's important to remember, instead of just going, salam wa rahmatullah. I'm going to be giving salams to whoever gives them to me. And in the reach of my hand with this computer, I do have it in front of me, you guys. So you'll see me looking up and down. I promise you have not lost it. Although people said I'm this close to losing it, so watch out, stay tuned. I swear, some people just wake up evil in the morning and judgmental and mad, and they're going to tell me what I'm going to do and who I am and what I should identify as and all kinds of stuff. So, Rest in peace at them, because I really don't give a flying fig what they think of me. Okay, let's get back to this. Okay. What are some signs that our husband is our friend? We tell ourselves he is. We treat each other as such. We look at his actions and how he lives. Does he live with us in kindness? Is he kind to himself and his children? Is he treating our co-wives well from what we can see that we don't assume? Is he practicing good leadership by being consistently consistent? Does he listen to our concerns? Does he? This is my favorite indicator of knowing that my specific husband is my friend, is that early on, he didn't let me indulge in what I wanted done. He indulged in what needed to be done and what was necessary without being rude and mean to me. So if I said, well, I just wish he could stay a little bit longer. Now, this is not my day. I wish he could just stay, because that's what I'm used to, right? I wish he could just stay a little bit longer. Mm-mm. He told me something, and it was so gentle and kind and truthful. Powerful. And he told me, and this is for Muslims, and I know everybody that watches this is not Muslim, and that's okay. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We all got to talk about these things together. You know, we never know who the leadership is going to be in any community. But he said this to me. He said, I can't put what Allah wants me to do, what he commands me to do, in front of what you want me to do. Hot dog. And he was right. And I respected him more for that, because I did lose some respect for him because I didn't know so much about him. And I ain't ask him either. You know, I thought ignorance is bliss, and ignorance, like Jim Rohn said, ignorance is tragedy. And it's true, because we can't walk around being blind and not talking and discovering things just because we're afraid. It just does not serve us. It didn't serve me. It never has. I've never had an instance where being ignorant was blissful for me. It's, you're still in the trappings of assumption and going, oh, I don't know. Anyway, back to what I was going to say. With him being that firm and just saying it in kindness, and looking me in my eye, because I'm big on that. I can't stand somebody that's shifty with their eyes. I don't like that. I do not like that. I don't know. I don't. Maybe because my grandpa was ex-military, and he said if somebody don't look you in the eye, watch them. My grandpa was a proud, older, good-looking Southern Black man. He didn't play, and he was again in the military for however long he was, but he helped raise me along with my grandmother, and he was very firm about that. If a man or woman didn't look him in the eye, and I don't go around looking at men in the eyes and just gazing. It's not study. It's just connect in a way where I can go, okay, that's what's real. Maybe a lot of people can look each other in the eye and be lying like a dog, but I'm just saying that's what I learned as I grew up with my grandparents, and that is not always an indicator of truth telling, because as a Muslim woman, again, I don't stare up in men's faces and over, analyze and just gaze, and I don't do that. That's not me. Anyway, but those are just some reminders of, what is important. When another huge thing, I lost my train of thought there just really quickly, but another thing is when a man holds himself accountable as he does others, and he might even be a little bit harder on himself than he is other people. But when you see a man go, I messed up, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have did that, I should have, I'm going to do better next time, whatever the case may be, is super important. I love to see that side of men or husbands where they go, you know what, I might have made a bad investment, or, I said it this way, or I put it this way. I put things in motion because I'm thinking of my family or whatever the case may be before I think of myself. But when he holds himself accountable, one of the main things that I love about our OPR team, our OPR family, is that we'll say, I could have did better. I didn't know. I was naive. I was hopeful. I should have said first. I should have sat people down. I love that, because then that's growth. That's growth. and we're all growing in different ways. That's the beauty of having a family and having a marriage and having friendship with our husbands, possibly, potentially, hopefully, maybe in the future, our co-wives, because they have something to say too. And they have their own journey as well. And that's important. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh from the UK. That is awesome, awesome, awesome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I thank you all for, again, spending time with me within this live. Thank you so much for your salams and your support to the whole OPR team, OPR family. Again, if you want to pick up your polygamy roadmap, visit polygamyroadmap.com, and also go into our private community so that we can continue these conversations and join the different spaces, create a profile. Just begin right there at oprcommunity.com. Okay, and then we have, let's see, Walaikum Salam, Australia, Melbourne. I love it. I love it. I thank you all once again for being here. Okay, let's get on back over here. So, yes. Another way that you can tell if a man is friendly, if your husband is your friend, is when you see him working through personal development on himself. That's part of accountability, of course. But when he's taking care of himself, exercise, I don't care if it's gentle stretching, the gym, he's taking care of his mental space. If it's salat, if it is making dua, if it is going to Juma for those men that are Muslim, taking care of himself mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, financially, that there's something to be said about a man that has those different areas that he's working on. Because if he's working on himself and loving himself and taking care of himself, the likelihood of him taking care of his family is pretty big. It's pretty big. It's pretty important. So, and of course, good leadership. I love this quote. I love this one quote that I had found, and it said, "A wise man hears one word and understands two, and understands two." Yeah.
Are you recording?
I'm live, but you can hit that. So that's my son, Suleiman. Here I'm talking to me. He's getting my stuff together here. A tad bit under the weather today, guys. So that's why I'm a little, not as maybe loud as I usually am, but prayerfully effective as I usually am, from what I've been told. So, yes, a wise man hears one word and understands two. There's a depth to him. There's something of substance. He's substantial in his actions and what he cares about, what he's loyal to, and who he defends and protects and provides for. Coach Nazir can tell you all more about that. So with that, just a little quick recap. Now before the recap, so some of the ways we can understand that our husbands are our friends is when he holds himself accountable, he's living with us in kindness, working on himself, protecting, providing for his family. He's producing something for his family. The treatment in which he gives his family. Now, that doesn't mean he walks around and be soft and weak and everybody's walking on him. He's firm when he needs to be. The examples that I gave you that Coach Nazir had given to me have stuck with me over a decade in polygyny. Yeah, I got to prioritize things. And it's not like it was before. We can talk about it. And if I had any questions, he was willing to answer them. Now, you got to be ready for the answer. So you got to do your work too. And this live cast, Quintessential Queens live cast, is about them being our friends and our foe. Really quickly before I end it, guys, is that I want to get into the foe part, the enemy part. I'll tell you, one of my earliest clients was a woman that was recommended to me, and I went to a coffee house to meet her, and a friend of mine stayed so she could watch me coach. She was like, I just wanted to stay with you, because she didn't have to. I didn't need an audience, but I really thank her even to this day for support. She's still a dear friend of mine. try to connect with her every day. But this lady had told me, she said, my husband got married and I found out on Facebook, and I asked her how, and she told me, and then she had told me something else. And she said he left the country. Their house was empty when she came back home from her trip, and there was one box on the floor, and they have a handicapped child in a wheelchair, and she hadn't heard from him. He just completely abandoned the family. So she hit him up. She hit the new wife up on Facebook, and he was like, well, I got married again. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. And she was still hopeful that he was coming back, although he emptied the house of its contents without her knowing and left the box on the floor and her with a handicapped child in a wheelchair. And I said, well, I said to her, it's pretty clear. It's pretty clear based off of what you've told me, because of course there's another side, but I'm thinking logically about it. Baby, your husband left you with a box in the floor with nothing on the walls, no furniture, nothing. The house is empty. Yeah. And then he later on told her, yeah, I'm done. Cause she hit me up. She contacted me after the session and said, he was like, I'm done. Bye. This is his child in this wheelchair. And I tried to tell her that multiple times within our session, that it's pretty clear. That's a foe. That's an enemy. That's somebody that I don't know when the intentions went left, but they went left. They went wrong. And she's since moved on about it, moved on with her life and took her child. And, she's doing relatively well last time I heard, but it's a pretty clear indicator. And that's a story that has, that happened 11 years ago, 10, 11 years ago. Incredible story. And that's probably one of the worst ones I've ever heard. And she was just so full of tears and upset and distraught. And my friend was telling me as they left the meeting, she said, I kept telling her, he's not coming back. He left you all. He abandoned the family. I want you to understand that. And I brought Fatimah in to, so she could have an unbiased ear, because I didn't have a dog in a fight. However, I had to call a thing. And she said, she still don't get it, until he said, you don't get it. I'm gone. Bye. This is my new life. This is my new life. And so she finally came to grips with it and went on about her life, because there was nothing more for her to do. She made a decision. Look, I'm going to move forward versus continue to just focus on this man that just left me with nothing. So prayerfully, she's still okay. I've lost touch with her over the years. And that's okay, as long as she's doing what she needs to do for herself and her child, so that they are happy. And as far as he goes, he'll get whatever's coming to him. She doesn't have to work in that realm. Okay. Let's see if you all have any questions. Again, put question marks in front of your questions, guys, so I can identify them a little bit easier. Okay. Just looking. I do see one, I believe. Alrighty. Characters. Best practice to have outstanding persuasion is about to cause effect. True. Let's see. I'm gonna let. Okay. I don't see any questions at this time, but again, I did touch on something because people do ask me, and Coach Fatimah, see, we usually don't do that. Coach Nyla, now she gotta be laughing. She will laugh at this because I don't know. That's just a funny, quick little story time. We were doing a live, and this was, I don't know, a couple years ago, maybe, about a couple of years ago. And we just had the giggles, and we kept messing up the intro, and we were recording something. I think we were recording something. That's what it was. It wasn't a live just yet. We had finished a live or something. And I kept saying I was Coach Nyla. And then Coach Nazir looks at me. He's like, no, you're not. I'm like, what are you talking about? Let me tell you something real quick. I was like, oh my God, I goofed that all the way up. And it was just hilarious. So to say, me and Coach Fatimah just takes me back, y'all. We've had some really funny things, and maybe we will share our bloopers one of these days soon. But we're busy people, but we want to provide really awesome content for you all. Here's a question. Thank you so much for this. I'm not going to even attempt. Here it is. Okay. Okay, Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Are there ever times that the whole family unit vacation together? We have traveled the world together. Not only have we taken vacations together, we indeed have traveled the world together. We still are. It's awesome. It's not easy. It's not like, hey, everybody's in a good mood and everybody's, we have little ones. We have grown, I like to say kids because they're my kids, but young adults in this family and everybody in between, and they're all important. And we have traveled a few times. My co-wife and I and our husband and our young ones have traveled road trips before. And we do have a video actually on YouTube, my co-wife and I. We talk about our experience traveling and staying in the same home within the vacation or the travel together, and how that kind of went with us. So we do share that. So that's a really good question. Thank you for that. Okay. Amina Ahmed, are you knowledgeable about narcissistic family dynamics? Are you capable to recognize it and advice in the case of person? Okay. Person not to engage in polygyny. I won't tell anyone to not practice polygyny, and I'm not a therapist or anything like that. I won't attempt that. There's a difference between narcissism pathology and selfishness and what do they call it? Sociopathology. There's all kinds of pathologies, and I will not attempt to do so. However, I have some knowledge about that. I won't share that here right now, but that's a really great question. It's difficult to kind of Google things on the internet because the internet has this pattern of behavior of giving you the worst case scenario of all. Then it'll kind of filter into the more gentler, less horrible diagnosis. But that's a really great question. There are some predators, there are some narcissists in polygyny. Absolutely. There's men that prey on women and want to just pick women like daisies and keep marrying and divorcing, and this revolving door of wives and this revolving door. I mean, a lot of wives. It's really incredible to me, some of the things that I've seen in this world. How do you keep yourself strong mostly in the beginning of the journey? I think you have to again hold yourself accountable, because you can't change anyone else, because we don't have a switch we can flip. I really strengthened my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it gave me time. Polygyny gave me time to create a closeness with him, and I prayed istikhara, a special prayer about what decisions I needed to make, whether I needed to stay, whether I needed to go, based off of what facts versus the emotions that I was experiencing. So, for example, if I made a pros and cons list about Coach Nazir, then his pros would far outweigh his cons. It would far outweigh the consequences of the marriage, or the, whatever the case may be. So his good outweighed this specific moment in time that I did not appreciate. See, I had to ask myself the right questions instead of the wrong ones. So up until now, what does his stats look like with me? Pretty stellar, pretty good. Did that mean we never got on each other's nerves? No, that's not true. That's not true. But it did mean that I knew, based off his relationship with Allah and worshiping and all the things that he did and had put in place, that I was going to be safe with him and moving forward. I mean, it just was clear to me. If I looked past the emotions of what the heck just went on, I'm mad, I'm feel insecure. I need some reassurance. And, you know, you got to make a decision that you want to feel better, because saying I have to heal versus doing the actions in order to heal are two different things. See, I wanted to feel better. I wanted to feel good. I wanted to heal. I wanted to be successful in polygyny at a certain point. Was it right away? No. That's where self-work and accountability, personal development, praying, you know, connecting, telling the truth, being honest, you know, because if he had to sit there and figure me out, it wasn't going to work. If I had to sit there and figure him out, it wasn't going to work. It just wasn't going to work. So I wasn't willing to roll the dice because I knew I had it in me for it to work. See, that's the thing. No. See, I knew I was built to last. And I knew he was built to last. And I knew my co-wife didn't want no smoke. She didn't ask for any. She asked for the absolute polar opposite. She did not want any drama. She didn't want none of that. And that helped. That helped. Having people in my life that are not creating drama for me, and I'm not creating drama for them, is important. But taking care of myself and my mental health was beyond a priority. I couldn't sit up and diagnose everybody else and go, well, you know, you did this, and I'm your victim, and y'all did this to me, and y'all need to fix this, and I want everybody to bow down to me. No. I had to go, okay, Fatimah, what can you do to level up right now? What can you do to change and grow and become who you need to be? Because if I didn't do my work, I wouldn't be sitting here on the interwebs talking to you all live about polygyny and marriage and best practices or best results as Coach Fatimah. It would not have happened. It would not have happened. I had to do some work on me. But yes, it's just really connecting with the Creator on a deep level and knowing and telling myself, you got this. You got this. A lot of you don't know, and that's okay. That's okay. But I was born a very, very, very sick child, born almost dead, very jaundiced, full blood transfusion. My mother had a very sickly body. I mean, just a wreck of a life. And I was in intensive care, and my grandmother was a nurse at the time, and she was my nurse. So all the time, no, but she was able to check on me and talk to her fellow coworkers about me, and they would give her updates. And I ultimately ended up with my paternal grandparents, and she's the one I'm speaking of, my paternal grandmother. And she told me once, and this was on one of my worst days, and it was raining outside. It was a mess. It was just awful. And she looked at me and she said, you fought to live. Now you got to fight now. Fight through this. Just like you fought to get here, just like you fought to stay here. And I just felt weak, like emotionally, mentally, physically. I just felt weak and drained. And it's just like I was dragging me. Nobody was dragging me. It was just like whatever was in my head whatever I had in my head, and all my assumptions had hands, rated E for everyone, including me. So, and I thought about my parents, and they just was, I'm like, man, I come from them. And she said to me, don't worry about coming from them. You come from me. You come from my mama. You come from her mama. And you come from her mother before her. You built from us. Bam. That with offering my salat and staying close to Allah and all of the trials and tribulations, that helped. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I just was like, look, I got this. And Coach Nazir saw that I had a coach inside there, because I was unofficially coaching. And shout out to him, because he saw more in me than I saw in myself at that time, especially. Let me see, y'all. I'm so used to my family being, so I'm, the puppet master today. I'm doing the live, the comments and things. And I love them to death for helping behind the scenes so much. Okay, wait a minute, guys. Hold on. You guys are so welcome, and walaikum salam to all of you that have given me salams. I really appreciate that. We appreciate you all as well. Let me see. Okay. co-wife, even if my co. Can you guys see that? Received a few proposals to become a co-wife, even by a wife herself. In one case, a wife was fine with it. Let me see, was fine with it. See, this stuff is going, y'all. It's going at the bottom of the screen. I'm trying to read that too. Was fine with it. It was very nice to me. A struggle with of guilt towards her. How was it for me? How was what for me, huh? Just make that a little bit clearer. I thought, if I'm to understand your question, I thought polygyny was something for Coach Nazir. So I was like, okay, this is for him. This isn't for me. He's going to build his family, his other family somewhere else. I'm going to stay out of that. That's pretty much it, because that's how I felt it came into my life. So I didn't want to get in it. You know, that's that ignorance is bliss thing I was talking to you all about. That when I don't have nothing to say, I don't, and I don't act like I have nothing to say. It's like, whoosh, that's it. It can be very cold when somebody is met with that. It can be very unapproachable. It can be very intimidating. I've been told by multiple people multiple times that I have very intimidating energy. But when I don't know you, I don't know you. And if I don't want to get to you, know you, I don't. And that's really, really something I've had to kind of grow up out of is, okay, if I don't, especially when I have on my shades, child, and my fur hood in the winter, you know, I don't look that approachable, because y'all know me. I like color, but I like black lots. Okay. Okay, how do you, okay, I'm going to throw this up here. It says, how do you control the insecurities that we have mostly in the beginning as first one? Let me tell you something real quick. I'm very careful. That's an awesome question, sis. I'm very careful about what I say about myself to myself. So I celebrate the fact that I'm funny. I'm intelligent. I like art. I'm an artist. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I helped build and establish a family. And that's because, not because of ego and I'm so involved, look at me, and arrogance. It's just a timeline in which things occurred. And we're always supposed to be this way. So I don't erase what made me so beautiful from the years before polygyny. I don't want to erase that ever again, because I did that where I was like, oh, well, he done busted out a new model. You know, they come out every 4 years or whatever the case may be. I was saying all kinds of stupid stuff to myself. I said, hold up. And it really started with the truth of the matter started with Coach Nyla when he said it wasn't my fault. You know, and that really helped, because at first I was like, I know doggone well, you know, is this my fault? I mean, it's just something that goes to your mind. It's something that you may ask yourself. And this is not something that just initial wives ask themselves. Brothers that are Muslim, they have up to 4, and a second wife, third wife can ask themselves these things. They can have insecurities toward the initial wife. So it's not something that's abnormal to be jealous, but to create an envy and to want to rob our sister wife of, well, you know what? I want a happy marriage, but I don't want that for you. See, I can't have good in my marriage if I'm wishing bad on another. I just can't. No, it's got to be positivity coming out of my mouth, even about who I am. Even about who I am. Somebody said, it was a comment. I'm just give you this. And it was to be snarky and to be petty. Somebody says something, oh, you know what, the headband and the thing and the brooch and the colors. It's less is more. Well, less is more to you. Because I like me. I don't want to sit up and worry about when people specifically act a certain way towards me, and I study, and they already come into a negative assumption, and their negativity is spewing from their mouth and in their heart and in their soul. And then they go, well, I don't like the thing, and I don't like the this, and I don't like the that, and I don't. And that's supposed to mean something to me. Why? No, because I've decided I'm going to celebrate the things that I find beautiful about me. I'm going to celebrate the things that I find beautiful about my marriage, my family, my co-wife, my kids, my bonus kids, all of it. All of it. Just keep celebrating the goodness. Keep celebrating the goodness. and what others are providing. What kind of beauty are they providing to this world? I don't care if it is a poem and I've never read it and they read it and they're happy about it. I'm happy for them because they're happy about something they did. So remembering who I am, remembering what I need to learn, remain humble and teachable and coachable. And I don't have time for certain hateful behavior from certain hateful people in the comments that just really just don't like the optics of Coach Nazir sitting here looking like the boss and being bossed up and having two wives next to him, and they don't like it. So then they start attacking headbands and bras and socks and funny looking glasses and watches that light up. I can't do it. I can't do it. But absolutely celebrate what you find beautiful about you. Just celebrate you. Celebrate you. Celebrate what you find beautiful about your marriage. Work on you. Do personal development and understand that it's about the meaning that we give things. So if I give so much meaning to Coach Nazir's marriage, other marriages in the future, if he decides to do that and just ignore the beauty within my own, then I'm in trouble. If I focus so much on the beauty of someone else and I never celebrate me, then that's kind of how we can get hemmed up. It's not abnormal to feel insecurities, but we don't have to feed them. You know, if we're going to feed them anything, just keep reminding yourself of how you're talented and what you can do and what is your strength. Everybody's got something they're good at. I don't care if it's picking up sticks. You know, I don't care if it's art. I don't care if it's help and healing and wellness and, you know, being a healthcare provider, a poet, whatever it is. Just celebrate you. Let's see. I think I see another question, guys. And then I'm going to wrap up. My culture is very hard. People judge you extremely hard for becoming a co-wife. It's that mentality. She must have done something bad to accept this as her only option. How to deal with this. Okay. And then also I would like to say to you, sisters, really great question. People are going to meet you with all kinds of stuff. It's creating distance. You don't have to sit up around people that are negative, and then creating boundaries. At our local masjid where we're from in the upper Midwest, I've had people approach me about my co-wife, you know, even when I didn't have anything to say. I said, you should get to know her. They go, can't believe it. Why not? We're grown people. So, and if somebody says something to me now and we're close, if somebody says something to me then and we had created a closeness and it was something negative, then I have to tell them what it is and create distance. So like my grandmother didn't like this whole thing. Nope. And she would say little comments. And then I said, you know what? I realize you don't love Coach Nyla, but I do. So I'm going to need you to, you know, not say certain stuff to me in this time. All right. You know, what could she do? I'm grown. She had her house. I had mine. Love you, but I can't sit up under you saying negative things all the time. My aunt told me something, and she's since passed away. She said, always talk to people that love him, that love you all, that love the family. That's his aunt. She married his biological uncle. She loved him. She met him when he was 7. She said, I could talk to her about anything. And she would give me wise advice. I felt safe with her. He felt safe with me talking to her because he knew her to have good advice. So creating a distance is important. People are going to judge you. Just like I said, a lot of people don't like us because they see Coach Nazir sitting in the middle of me and Coach Nyla, and they just hate him for it. Womanizer, you're just here for his pleasures, talking to me now. You get all kind of hate and all kind of love on the internet, in the comments. People, you can't do nothing about people not liking you or making it difficult. You just can create distance because they're going to think whatever they're going to think. We don't owe people our story, or you're just this, or you're just that. I've told people I'm not just this, I'm not just that, and they'll walk right up going, she just this and that. So they're not giving me or providing me with anything. They're not giving me or providing me with anything other than negativity, and they can go somewhere else with that, because I'm not going to entertain it. Because if I entertain their negativity, then it gets into my world. And if my world is peaceful right now and you're providing me with negativity, then you need to go somewhere else, to somebody else that loves that kind of stuff. I can't, no, me and negativity and having all that weight of somebody else's, their insecurities, because that's what they're speaking to theirs. And sometimes if they see that they can get to you, the bully is always going to come for the one that they think is weak. The bully is always going to do that. Sometimes people want to approach me and I can look, because they'll have a smirk on their face, and honey, the way they'll get these eyebrows, and then they'll go, well, let me leave her alone then. And I've had people say, well, you know, I was going to ask you such and such, which is a personal question. And then but you looked mad. I said, no, I just wasn't going to entertain nobody's BS. That's it. It's pretty simple. Oh, well, okay. Oh, well, okay. Peace, deuces. I mean, it's just, you get to decide who's in your circle. And if it's a parent, like I said, if it's your parents, it might be a little bit more difficult because it's your mother, your father. But I had to individually, separately, because my parents wouldn't have never been in the same room together, talk to each parent and go, this is what it is, da 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 da. And then my mother said, I'm glad you told me, because if I saw him, I wouldn't have known what to think. I know that. That's why I came to you first. And I went over to my father. This is what it is. He said, okay, I get it. I don't like it, but y'all grown. Boom. It was maybe 5 minutes with the two of them. And whatever they got to say is whatever they got to say. But as long as they knew, look, I'm not going anywhere that I know of right now. So I'm just letting y'all know what the dynamic is. It's different. I know y'all mad. That's fine. You know, I didn't ask anybody to be happy, but I also am not interested in anybody's judgment. They know how far to go with me with stuff. I think most people do. I don't start it. I'll finish it. I don't start it. I don't like starting stuff. I don't like people approaching my co-wife and trying to, you know, they would try this mess. You know, well, I'm Coach Fatimah's friend. And I don't even remember asking you that, child. I didn't ask you who friend you were. But yeah, in my culture too. I'm Muslim. I'm a practicing Muslim every day. But in Western American culture, they don't embrace polygyny. You know, it's the get your own man mentality. So yes, people gonna think whatever they want to about you, and whatever somebody think about me and my business, no way. But if they come to me with it, then I'll have to discuss it with them and send them on their way. So, all right, guys, that is pretty much it. Thank you all for your kind comments. Again, you're gonna want to visit us. Go to our private community at oprcommunity.com. And we'll continue these conversations. You can comment within the community. You can interact with one another. And we will be in there as well as coaches and creators of outstanding personal relationships. Make sure you're commenting, liking, subscribing on our YouTube channel. You know, share the videos as well. And just, you know, you want to keep up the conversation. Go over to the oprcommunity.com again, and you can direct message us as well. We don't spend large, super duper duper amounts of time there, but we're in there every day, inshallah. And we just, you know, we knew we had to create this space because it's difficult sometimes to get on Facebook and YouTube, because then you're met with all these negative comments and all this judgment. So yes, the OPR community, it's where you're going to want to go and create your profile. Put a picture there, even if it's a picture of a flower or a rock, because some of you all have beautiful names and some of you share the same names. So it would be really great if we can make sure that we can tell the difference between everyone, and just follow the different prompts there and start there if you want to learn more. And pick up your polygamy roadmap by visiting polygamyroadmap.com. So with that, beautiful people, thank you all for the salams, and walaikum salam to you all. I will see you all on the next one for for Quintessential Queens next Thursday. I know there's supposed to be some time change. There's going to be some time changes, so I'll be sure to add that detail. I'll still be here, inshallah, for the next one next week. And make sure you guys follow us on IG at Outstanding Relationships, because we're over there as well. Sometimes we go live to IG within, and also Facebook and YouTube. All right, guys, I'm going to leave you guys with a little GLC as we always do. Make sure you are growing intentionally, loving fearlessly, and connecting on a higher level every single day. Coach Fatimah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Assalamu alaikum. Peace.